So what are we really talking about when we talk about eliminating the gap? So let's just kind of dive into it. Especially where we're at today as a nation financially, people are looking for different solutions to their financial challenges, or they're trying to be proactive in case something does happen, right? And so, people look at what happens if, I would die too soon. Where's that leave my family? My significant other, my children, how's the mortgage get paid? People also looking at, what if I become ill and I can't work? How's that going to affect me financially? And then people are looking beyond that. They're looking beyond the next, few weeks, a few months to a year. They're looking at, hey, I don't want to outlive my money, right? So let's talk about that. So, we look at eliminating the gap. So when we sit down and we educate our clients on a sound financial plan, we look at three main areas. One of the areas that we look at is the emergency fund, especially today. Having a cash reserve is very, very important. But we also know that a lot of people don't have a hefty cash reserve. According to nerdwallet.com, the average person only has about $400 in an emergency fund, right? The second thing, and this is where Fernando has already taken care of this for you, is your retirement savings, setting up that retirement plan. The third area that we look at is your protection, also known as insurance. People will have their health insurance if it's through their school or the employer. They'll have their homeowners insurance, protect their home, car insurance. Hey, if you're like most people, you probably even have insurance on your cell phone, right? The one that we specialize in, what we're talking about, is life insurance. Now, I know when I mentioned the word life insurance, the blood just kind of drained from your face. You don't want to hear about it, talk about it, or nothing, right? And that's really the reason being is when I or anybody says life insurance, what's the first word that pops into your head? Well, if you're like most people, it's death, and death is kind of morbid, right? So I'm going to teach you about the old kind. I always call it like the black and white television of the insurance industry. And then I'm going to talk to you about the new kind of like the smart television. The old kind was like this: you buy, you die, they pay. Again, kind of morbid, but you had it for really two reasons: because you love somebody, like your significant other or your child, or you owe somebody, like a mortgage, right? But the new kind has what's called living benefits. This only helped a person or a family if they passed away. But what if you don't? So let me just throw out a couple stats just to kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. Did you know that every 38 seconds in America, someone has a coronary event like a heart attack? And 75% of those people, they do not die. So let's just say you have the old black and white television of life insurance. It only pays if you pass away. That means 75% of the people would not be covered. Also, every 40 seconds in America, someone has a stroke, and 70% of the people do not pass away. Again, if you have the old kind, only 30% of the people are covered. But what happens to the other 70%? Now we do know that cancer does kill, but did you know that 87% of breast cancer victims survive and 98% of prostate cancer victims survive? So why do I tell you that? Not to be morbid, not to because I'm some kind of health expert, but really financially, two things happens when one of these occurrences happen. And there's about 15 other ailments that are covered underneath these policies. The first thing that happens is typically our income goes down, right? Maybe we're going to be out of work for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. Even if you have short-term and long-term disability, on average, you're taking a 40% pay cut. And then even if your expenses don't, or your income doesn't go down, typically your expenses go up because you have deductibles on your health insurance, you have out-of-pocket expenses, you have all these things that are going on. So basically what happens is you have a gap and your income. So the question is, where are we going to pull this money from? Now, some people will go out and they'll refinance their house, right? They'll use credit cards. We'll come back here to this emergency fund. They'll start pulling money there if they have it, or people will start pulling money out of their retirement account, right? But what if there was a way where you would protect your biggest assets? That's your house, your credit, your savings, and your retirement, and you never had to touch that. That's what living benefits allows you to do. So let's talk about that a little bit deeper, okay? First thing I always advise people is, when you get the news that you have a serious illness or a family member has a serious illness, the last thing you want to worry about is your family's financial security. So folks, think about this for a second. I'm sure that you know a coworker, a friend, somebody from your church, whatever the case may be, that has gone through a heart issue, cancer, stroke, got into a serious car accident, right? Well, sometimes you ever hear about some of these people, then they'll have a relapse, they'll have a second heart attack or a third heart attack. Do you understand one of the main reasons that is because they're under so much stress by the usage, they can't get their body well. So first and foremost, you want people to get well. You want your family, your friend to get well. One of the ways to do that is to have that peace of mind of finances. But when something does happen, we're thinking, hey, I'm not going to be working, I'm going to have lost wages, something's going to happen, and we become more stressed out because of that, and that doesn't allow our bodies to heal. So that's one of the other reasons why to have living benefits. 48, 48, 60, what do these numbers mean? Did you know that 48% of mortgage foreclosures are the result of a financial hardship due to a critical illness? Only 3% is due to death. The reason I mention that is there's a lot of policies out there that are sold as mortgage protection. They say this, Mr. and Mrs. Client, if something happens to one of you, and could you still pay that mortgage if the other person isn't here? And typically the answer is no. My question to you all is, if you don't die and you have one of those critical illnesses, like a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, and you're out of work for, X amount of time, are you going to be able to still pay that mortgage? If the answer is no, we're just not going to cover you in death, but we're also going to cover you in life. 48% of businesses that fail, they fail because of a critical illness like a heart attack, stroke, or cancer. So do you know those friends of yours, or maybe the spouse who's self-employed? What if he or she cannot get up and produce revenue for the company and for your household? What do? That's where living benefits comes into play. 60% or more of all bankruptcies are directly tied to a medical condition such as a critical illness like the heart attacks, strokes, and cancers. And 80% of those individuals were already covered by health insurance. So sometimes people say, hey, it is a health insurance issue. Folks, it's not. Most of the time, it is not a health insurance issue. So let's talk about an actual example of a client of ours. 36-year-old male and a 34-year-old female. We were doing some financial planning, started talking to them about their insurance needs, and they already had a $500,000 on each of them, but it was the old black and white kind, the one that only paid only if somebody passed away. But what if they didn't pass away? So unfortunately, 4 months later, we get a call at 10:30 at night. And typically when we get a call at 4:30 at night from our clients, it's usually not a good thing, right? Unless we're really close to them and it's the birth of a child or something. Well, the wife is diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. Okay. Remember when I talked about when you get some bad news, the last thing you want to do is have to worry about finances? Well, we reminded them that they had the living benefits. So out of that $500,000 policy, they were able to get a check for $412,000. Now, here's my question. If something happened and knock on wood, she's doing great, And I believe one of the biggest reasons that is because she didn't have to worry about the finance side. Now, obviously, she's doing everything that the doctors are telling her to do, but see, it's that peace of mind. She's not worried about how the mortgage is going to get paid, how the cars are getting paid, how the food is going to be put on the table, how to provide for her kids, because financially she's fine. So that gives her the opportunity to focus on her and getting well. So, folks, what is your next step? Next step is to contact myself through Fernando's office. You can call me directly at 817-863-4231, or you can go ahead and email me at rclaypool@value, teachers.com. Or if you're like, hey, I want to schedule a consultation and learn more about how these living benefits can protect me and my family, you can schedule on, for your convenience, I have an online calendar. It is www.meetme.so/Rich Claypool. Folks, we are here to make sure during this period of time that we have you covered. We have you covered in death. We have you covered in illness. And that way, if something does happen to you, you financially are going to be taken care of so you can focus on yourself.